Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A German woman holds a sign that says, "I am expelled from the people's community," in 1942 during the Second World War. The punishment was imposed because of a relationship with a Polish man, something forbidden by the harsh social laws of the government at the time. Photographers and their camera equipment get ready to record images of nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll in 1946. These tests, known as Operation Crossroads, were conducted by the United States to study the effects of atomic explosions on ships and military infrastructure. An exhausted Marine finds refuge in a church used as an improvised hospital and morgue in Vietnam in 1967. During the Vietnam War, many civilian buildings, including churches, were adapted to provide emergency medical care to the wounded. A destroyed automobile is photographed at the site of the wall explosion in 1920. The incident caused significant damage, hitting vehicles and nearby structures and bringing in authorities and rescue crews. United States tanks spread out under German artillery fire near the Rhine River in 1945 during the Second World War. This action was part of Allied operations in the final phase of the conflict, aiming to cross the Rhine and push into Germany. The crew gets ready to abandon the USS Yorktown in 1942 during the Battle of Midway in the Pacific Ocean. The aircraft carrier was severely damaged after repeated attacks during the clash between the forces of the United States and Japan in the Second World War. A firefighter suit developed in the early decades of the 20th century allowed professionals to get closer to the flames during firefighting. The defendants docked during the International Military Tribunal in Nuremberg, Germany, in 1946. This historic trial was held to prosecute leaders and officials responsible for crimes committed during the Second World War. A soldier shows a face marked by fatigue and tension during the First World War in 1918. The dirt-covered face and distant look reflect the harsh conditions experienced by fighters in the trenches and battlefields. Passengers in New York on the night of November 22, 1963. On that day, the United States was shaken by the news of the death of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas. Iranian women protest the Islamic dress code required for all female government office workers in 1980 in Tehran, Iran. After the 1979 revolution, new laws required women to wear a veil and clothing considered appropriate by religious legislation. The film set is set up in front of 128 Mott Street in the Little Italy neighborhood of New York, United States. This area is known for its strong Italian-American community with narrow streets, traditional restaurants, and a rich cultural history. A system of balloons is suspended over London, United Kingdom, in 1915 as a defense against air attacks during the First World War. Known as a balloon apron, this method created physical barriers to make it harder for enemy aircraft to approach. A reindeer looks on while planes carry out air attacks over Russian territory in 1941 during the Second World War. This moment occurred in the context of Operation Barbarossa, when Germany launched a large-scale invasion of the Soviet Union. An electric chair on display at the Cook County Jail in Chicago, United States, in 1927. The chair was introduced in the late 19th century as a method of execution considered at the time a more modern and efficient alternative compared to other methods. Auto polo being played at Coney Island, New York, United States in 1910. The sport involved players riding adapted vehicles and trying to hit a ball with mallets similar to traditional polo. A crewman performs maintenance on Browning .50 caliber machine guns in a spherical turret during the 1940s. This compartment, known as a ball turret, was installed on military aircraft and provided a strategic defensive position against air attacks. Tank crews worked to free bogged-down M4 Shermans in Minturno, Italy in 1944 during the Second World War. The city saw heavy fighting in the Italian campaign as Allied forces pushed to advance north. Armed women attend a wedding as guests in Jundian, Iraq. In some regions and local traditions, displaying weapons at ceremonies can represent symbols of honor, protection, or celebration. Something that looks like it came out of Doctor Who? No, it is a firefighter using a smoke protection helmet in London, England. This equipment was developed in the 19th century to let professionals breathe in smoke-filled environments during firefighting. The First World War flying ace known as the Red Baron, Manfred von Richthofen, is recorded in 1917. A pilot in the German Air Force, he became famous for his air combat skills, with 80 confirmed victories. A wanted poster for John Wilkes Booth issued in 1865 in the United States. Booth was responsible for the attack on President Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater in Washington on April 14, 1865. Robert Wadlow, approximately 8 feet 11 inches tall, greets actress Mary Pickford at the St. Louis Airport in Missouri, United States. Known as the tallest man in history, Wadlow had a condition called gigantism, caused by excess growth hormone. Astronauts Thomas P. Stafford and Eugene A. Cernan wait with the hatches open in their Gemini spacecraft after the mission on June 6, 1966. They await the arrival of the recovery ship USS Wasp, responsible for retrieving the capsule and crew after splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. Albert Einstein plays his beloved violin in 1941 in the United States. Beyond his groundbreaking contributions to physics, Einstein was a classical music enthusiast who considered the violin one of his greatest passions. Norwegian ethnologist Thor Heyerdahl sails across the Pacific Ocean on his raft Kon-Tiki. In 1947, he built the vessel with traditional materials and completed the crossing from Peru to Polynesia in 101 days. The coronation of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia took place in Moscow in 1896 inside the Dormition Cathedral in the Kremlin. To the left of the image is the immense Tsar Bell, one of the largest bronze pieces in the world, a symbol of Russian imperial power. The first aerial photograph of Stonehenge was taken 118 years ago by Philip Henry Sharp using a gas balloon in 1906. The image offered a new perspective of the prehistoric monument, showing the full layout of the stones and their surroundings. Children's shoes about 2,000 years old were found in the ruins of Palmyra in present-day Syria, dating to the Roman era. Palmyra was an important commercial city of the Roman Empire, located on a strategic route between east and west. The old Penn Station in New York operated from 1910 until its demolition in 1963. Designed by the firm McKim, Mead and White, the station was considered one of the grandest works of Beaux-Arts architecture in the United States. Here is another record of Maud the Motor Mule, photographed by Royals in 1910, part of the Bain collection. The image shows Maud fitted with an experimental engine in a creative attempt to combine animal traction with motor technology. An aerial view of Hollywood in 1926 shows urban expansion and the major film studios that drove the area's transformation into a global entertainment center. A test image of Judy Garland for the film The Wizard of Oz in 1939. In this record, the actress appears as Dorothy Gale, a role that would become one of the most iconic in film history. Sean Connery is photographed in 1963 during the height of his career, playing Agent James Bond. During this period, he starred in From Russia with Love, the second film in the iconic spy franchise. Salvador Dalí and his wife Gala are photographed in the 1930s. Gala, whose real name was Elena Ivanovna Diakonova, was a muse, partner, and central figure in the life and work of the Spanish artist. Marilyn Monroe performs on stage in front of thousands of soldiers during her visit to Korea in 1954. The actress took part in a series of shows organized to entertain American troops stationed in the region after the end of the Korean War. Louis Armstrong draws a trumpet and signs on a fan's head in Nice, France in 1961. Known worldwide as one of the greatest jazz musicians, Armstrong was admired for his talent and warmth with the public. A wedding photo of Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson in 1988 in the United States. The couple met while filming a television series in the 1980s and since then have built a strong personal and professional relationship. Cheryl Ladd poses wearing a Star Wars t-shirt in 1977, the year the film was released and became a global cultural phenomenon. Catherine O'Hara poses next to an automobile in the 1970s, showing a casual style with a t-shirt, shorts, and sunglasses. The Canadian actress would become widely known years later for her work in acclaimed comedies and films. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Brad Hall are photographed on their wedding day in 1987 in the United States. The couple met while studying and performing together in comedy shows at Northwestern University. Linda Carter and Ron Samuels are photographed on their wedding day in 1977 in the United States. Linda Carter became known worldwide for playing Wonder Woman in the famous television series of the 1970s. Tina Louise, Dawn Wells, and Natalie Schafer appear together on the set of the series Gilligan's Island in 1965 in the United States. The television comedy told the story of 7 castaways trying to survive on a deserted island after a boat trip went wrong. The interior of a 1926 Rolls-Royce shows luxurious handcrafted finishing typical of the British mark. The space is decorated with seats upholstered in floral fabric, carved wood details, and a Persian rug showing the refinement and comfort offered to passengers. A device that combines a television, a radio, and a cocktail set is introduced in 1951 in the United States. This multifunctional piece of furniture reflects the search for convenience and sophistication in post-war home design. A portable payphone van in Toronto, Canada, photographed in 1983. The mobile unit operated by Bell offered temporary access to payphones in places with heavy foot traffic or during special events. Between 1905 and 1930, hills were leveled to reshape the landscape of Seattle, United States. The project began in 1897 and continued until 1930, radically changing the topography of the downtown area. Dal Lake in the Kashmir region is the setting for a photo shoot for British Vogue in 1956. The image highlights the natural beauty of the lake, surrounded by mountains and known for its traditional houseboats and boats called shikaras. A family lives in a house built inside a tree stump about 23 feet in diameter, recorded in 1901 in the United States. These dwellings were common in logging regions where giant felled tree trunks were reused as temporary housing. "30 men pose on the roof of an Auto Union DKW F7 in a photograph taken in 1937 in Germany. The image was made to demonstrate the strength of the vehicle's wooden body, an unusual and innovative feature for the time. Three monks look at a statue of Lenin at the World's Fair in Brussels, Belgium in 1958. Known as Expo 58, the fair brought together pavilions from many countries showing cultural, technological, and political advances of the post-war era. The boat Vita II is photographed in 1910, standing out as an innovative motorized vessel for its time. Equipped with multiple exposed engines, the design aimed to achieve higher speed and performance in competitions and nautical trials. A ski jumping structure is recorded in Virginia, Minnesota, United States in 1914. The impressive ramp was built for ski jumping competitions and practice, a sport popular in regions with cold climates and Nordic tradition. A person poses standing on the lap of one of the colossal statues of Rameses II at the Great Temple of Abu Simbel, Egypt, in 1856. This photograph was taken during the first European expeditions to the site, when the temple was still partly buried by sand. The start of the marathon at the London Olympics in 1908, with the race beginning in front of Windsor Castle in England. This event set the official distance of the modern marathon at 26 miles 385 yards, adjusted so the race would finish in front of the Royal Box at the Olympic Stadium. Baseball was presented as a demonstration sport during the Stockholm Olympics in Sweden in 1912, in a game between the United States and Sweden. The famous soccer fields of Hackney Marshes in London, United Kingdom, are recorded in 1962, with 111 matches happening at the same time, involving 2,442 players and 333 officials. An amateur radio station is recorded in 1911 in the United States. This equipment allowed private operators to transmit and receive radio signals, marking the start of wireless communication among enthusiasts. Volkswagens instantly turn into convertibles after going under a bridge that was lower than expected in 1960. The scene shows a common miscalculation of the time when height signs and measurements were not always accurate. A waiter elegantly serves coffee to two young people in Venice, Italy, in 1963. The scene takes place in the famous St. Mark's Square, partly flooded, a common situation caused by the seasonal high water known as acqua alta. A Japanese samurai is photographed in the 19th century wearing traditional clothing and carrying his sword, a symbol of honor and duty. During this period, the samurai class went through significant changes with Japan's modernization in the Meiji era. A woman poses next to a car with a donkey partly inside the vehicle in a curious scene recorded in 1931. The 1955 Lincoln Futura prototype was originally rejected, but later became the iconic Batmobile in 1966 for the Batman television series. The car was developed by the Ford Motor Company as a concept vehicle. The Warner brothers are photographed in 1926. From left to right are Harry, Jack, Sam, and Albert. They founded Warner Brothers, one of the largest and most influential companies in the film industry. Ola Kohn spent 3 years from 1931 to 1934 carving fairies, gnomes, animals, and birds into the trunk of an old red gum located in Fitzroy Gardens in East Melbourne, Australia. Timekeepers work at the 1912 Summer Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden. That edition of the Games was marked by important innovations, including the official use of electric timers to measure competition times with greater accuracy. Doris Eaton Travis was the last of the Ziegfeld Follies girls, famous musical theater performers of the 1920s known for glamorous shows and elaborate choreography. An entire family travels on a Vespa during the 1950s. The image shows 2 people, several suitcases, and even a dog arranged on the small motorcycle, showing the creativity and practicality typical of the time. a machine to create dimples invented in 1936 by Isabella Gilbert of Rochester, New York, United States. The device consisted of a face-fitting spring with two small buttons that pressed the cheeks to form artificial dimples. The actor who played Godzilla takes a break for tea after filming intense scenes in 1954 in Japan. The production used a heavy, detailed rubber suit that required great physical effort from the performer. A portrait of Hattie Tom, a Native American woman of the Chiricahua Apache, recorded in 1899. She wears a buckskin dress with metal cones along with bead necklaces and earrings, traditional elements of her culture. Jane Carman poses casually on the beach during the 1950s in the United States. Known as an actress, model, and professional golfer, she stood out for her vibrant personality and her presence in magazines and films of the time. The film set is set up in front of 128 Mott Street in the Little Italy neighborhood of New York, United States. This area is known for its strong Italian-American community with narrow streets, traditional restaurants, and a rich cultural history. A street in the old part of Biskra, Algeria, recorded in 1899. Located in the northern Sahara, Biskra was known as an important trade center and a popular refuge for travelers and European artists in the late 19th century. The Messerschmitt Kabinenroller, released in 1954 in Germany, is an iconic microcar originally designed as an affordable transportation solution in the post-war period. Its name means cabin scooter, reflecting the compact, aerodynamic design inspired by aviation. Marion Liebig, elected Miss Hesse, promotes an infrared sun lamp in the snow in Wiesbaden, Germany, on an unspecified date. The device was used for light therapy, very popular in Europe in the 20th century, especially to stimulate circulation and fight the effects of cold. The Antarctic Snow Cruiser, also known as Penguin 1, was a self-propelled mobile station designed for expeditions in Antarctica in 1940. Built by the United States, the vehicle was intended to support scientific research in extreme environments. Young people play a basketball game between Boyles High and Tech High in Atlanta, Georgia, United States, in 1921. The sport, created only 3 decades earlier, was already spreading quickly in schools and communities across the country. Loggers use huge wheels to move large timber logs in California, United States, in 1895. This method allowed heavy logs to be moved across uneven ground and dense forests, making work easier for the logging industry. Mao Zedong and Chiang Kai-shek raise a toast to celebrate Japan's surrender in August 1945 in China. This meeting was the last time the two leaders were together, representing opposing sides in Chinese politics. A woman protests in front of the White House in 1917 in the United States, holding a banner that asks, "Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty?" Fidel Castro takes part in a basketball game with students during a visit to Krakow, Poland in 1972. The Cuban leader, often associated with baseball, also showed interest in other sports such as basketball, especially at public events. In 1955, storing 4.5 megabytes of data required approximately 62,500 punched cards. This method was widely used at the time for input, storage, and processing of information on large computers. A scene of extreme tree pruning is recorded in a time before trucks with elevating platforms were used. Workers used tall ladders and ropes to reach the farthest branches, showing skill and courage. A farmer crosses the main street of Eufaula, Oklahoma, United States, in 1940, driving a mule-drawn wagon. The scene shows the contrast between traditional transport and growing modernization, visible in the signs for gas stations and repair shops in the background. A different perspective seen from below reveals two people who appear as tiny figures in the right corner of the image in 1911. The photograph highlights the grandeur of the structure where they stand, likely related to a large-scale building or monument. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.